If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea and put an actress in there that not only hates the plot and the storyline of the movie she's in, but also seemingly hates Snow White, the character herself.
Scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again.
South Park went too far this time. This week, they targeted Rachel Zeglar, the actress playing Snow White in Disney's new movie. But what does it mean when a hit show makes fun of you? How will this affect Rachel's career? Will she be able to handle the backlash? South Park takes on Disney's Panderverse. South Park is at it again, sparking debate and laughs with its latest special, Into the Panderverse, now streaming on Paramount+. This episode reveals a multiverse concept to satirize current cultural themes, particularly Hollywood's approach to diversity, the AI boom, and a jab at Disney. South Park's creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, are known for their unfiltered takes on both cultural and political topics, and this episode doesn't hold back. The episode opens with a double storyline that tackles the idea of pandering, where South Park's core characters are reimagined as women of color in an alternate universe. Cartman, the notoriously crass, cynical character, dreams about an alternate version of South Park where he's been replaced by a black woman, someone he feels is completely disconnected from his identity. In his nightmare, Stan, Kyle, and Kenny are also reimagined as adult women of color. The episode cleverly taps into the fatigue some audiences feel toward the multiverse trend in movies today. This setup lets Parker and Stone explore what they see as a shallow approach to diversity, one where racial and gender changes are made, not to deepen characters or plotlines, but to check a box. Cartman's resentment toward this new South Park is the comedic vehicle for the larger message: how often companies fail to integrate meaningful diversity, making it feel more like a gimmick. His attempts to make sense of the changes lead him into a parallel universe where he meets his diverse counterpart, sparking a hilarious but scathing commentary on how Hollywood approaches identity swapping. Cartman's dissatisfaction with his alter ego's version of his friends makes him lash out, as he claims it's all ruining his South Park, a stance many real-life critics have echoed about beloved franchises like Star Wars or Marvel. Through Cartman's exaggerations, South Park mocks those who resist change, showing how some fans overreact to modernize character adjustments without fully understanding what they're upset about. But that's just one part of the storyline. In another arc, Randy Marsh, Stan's dad, grapples with his lack of real-world skills in a world increasingly dominated by AI. Randy's storyline pokes fun at how people in white-collar jobs, including himself, are becoming outdated due to technological advancements. AI is seen as a threat to everyone's jobs except those in blue-collar trades, and the show even elevates handymen and laborers to elite status. This plot hits close to home, especially as tech developments make more jobs obsolete, causing people to question their value in an AI-driven society. Randy's frustrations escalate when he realizes that he can't even fix a basic household issue, leading him to go to absurd lengths to get a handyman. Randy's dependency on others reflects the reliance many of us have on services or apps, making a strong point about how helpless we can become when real skills start to fade in the face of automated convenience. South Park's commentary on AI includes a subtle callback to an actual company that tried to automate TV script creation, a nod to the fear that AI could eventually disrupt even creative fields. Randy's interactions with the handyman are made even funnier by the fact that these blue-collar characters are portrayed as the new elite because they have the practical skills that AI can't replace. It's both ironic and reflective of the modern landscape, where automation is more likely to affect jobs that involve repetitive or administrative tasks than hands-on labor roles. The show saves some of its sharpest satire for Disney, particularly around the changes being made to classic characters in remakes. Recently, Disney faced controversy for casting Latina actress Rachel Zeglar as Snow White, sparking criticism from some fans who believe the studio is changing fundamental aspects of iconic characters for the sake of inclusivity. South Park mirrors this with Cartman's Panderverse, where characters are changed without clear narrative reasoning, making a point about representation that lacks substance. Parker and Stone are critical of what they see as pandering moves that don't add anything meaningful to the story. Interestingly, Disney CEO Bob Iger and executive Kathleen Kennedy are subtly referenced in the episode, with Kennedy's character seemingly controlling all Disney properties. It's a jab at the public perception that Disney's leadership is overly focused on diversity without adding depth to its storytelling. The show humorously exaggerates the idea that Kennedy is personally responsible for every perceived misstep in Disney's recent films.
No problem at all, Mrs. Kennedy.
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Yes, Miss Kennedy,
Even having Cartman and his alternate universe friends blame her for the changes that ruin their beloved characters. Through this, South Park mocks how some fans seem to scapegoat executives for every alteration in a beloved franchise, portraying them as conspiratorial figures bent on undermining the original story. The satire also tackles the woke conversation, particularly how YouTube channels and online critics focus endlessly on woke elements to generate outrage. The episode is quick to point out how people often cherry-pick clips to validate their views, ignoring the episode's broader message. There's a brilliant moment when Cartman's alter ego insists that his outrage represents the real fans, not realizing how ridiculous his complaints sound in the process. This segment underscores how audiences sometimes take extreme stances without fully considering the context or intent behind new creative decisions. Throughout Into the Panderverse, Parker and Stone carefully balance the critique, making it clear that they're not against diversity, but rather superficial inclusivity that feels like a marketing ploy. The show acknowledges that there are stories where diversity adds real value, like Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, which fully integrates Miles Morales' unique story and cultural background into the narrative. By drawing a line between meaningful representation and shallow changes, South Park adds nuance to a conversation often dominated by polarized viewpoints. In the end, the episode also pokes fun at audiences who are quick to label everything woke, showing how these knee-jerk reactions don't engage with the actual issues. Randy's storyline wraps up with him still clueless, unable to grasp that he's part of the problem, and Cartman's eventual surrender to the Panderverse encapsulates South Park's critique of people who resist any change to the stories they love. The final scene is a hilarious depiction of Cartman begrudgingly accepting the changes, adding a bittersweet note to the story. Overall, South Park's Into the Panderverse leaves audiences with plenty to think about. It cleverly skewers Hollywood's diversity practices, the threat of AI to traditional jobs, and even fans' extreme reactions to changes in pop culture. By blending these elements into a classic South Park-style multiverse adventure, the episode doesn't just provide laughs. It reflects on how we consume and react to media in a rapidly changing world. Parker and Stone remind us that there's a difference between genuine representation and marketing-driven inclusivity, all while poking fun at everyone involved, from Disney executives to the critics and fans themselves. Could Rachel face fallout after South Park skewers Disney's casting, portraying her as the poster child for Hollywood's soulless choices? The backlash could damage her career, alienating fans and closing doors on future projects. Rachel faces fallout as they skewer Disney casting. The South Park special, Into the Panderverse, which not only satirizes Hollywood's approach to diversity, but pokes fun at Disney's latest casting choices, has sparked major online discourse, especially regarding Snow White star Rachel Zeglar. In the special, South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone aim for Disney and executives like Kathleen Kennedy, who they imply are prioritizing surface-level diversity over substantive storytelling. This critique has stirred fans and commentators, but it's Rachel Zeglar who has found herself at the center of the controversy. The episode features an alternate universe where Disney characters are reimagined in a way that Cartman, representing a subset of fans, finds distasteful. This situation mirrors some of the backlash Zeglar faced following her casting as Snow White. Zeglar, who is of Colombian and Polish descent, has been vocal about her role, intending to bring a modern, more empowered take on the classic character. However, her approach has led to both support and backlash, particularly from fans who feel Disney's changes to beloved stories are merely pandering. South Park's satire seems to have struck a chord by reflecting the skepticism of fans who are wary of change for its own sake.
Listen, she keeps saying she's Eric Cartman.
Okay, and what's wrong with that?
What's wrong is it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, I see. There's a diverse female where Cartman used to be, and you don't like that.
It's not that we don't like it, don't you think that's weird?
I don't see a problem with it at all. And if you boys don't think Eric can be a black woman, then maybe the problem is you.
What?
Since Into the Panderverse aired, social media has been flooded with comments, with many viewers interpreting the episode as a direct jab at Zeglar's role. In interviews, Zeglar has often defended her casting and discussed the pressure of bringing new life to a classic character in the face of intense scrutiny. Her stance, intended to show her pride in her heritage and a fresh take on Snow White, was meant to inspire viewers.
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Yet, as South Park illustrated, Hollywood's approach to diversity often leads to divisive reactions from audiences who feel such changes are superficial, rather than enriching the story. The backlash from the South Park episode adds pressure to Zeglar's already intense experience in the spotlight, especially considering the polarized fan reactions. While Zeglar hasn't responded directly to the episode, fans and critics have weighed in heavily online. Some believe the episode has deepened the misunderstanding about Zeglar's intentions and Disney's decision, while others argue that it validates concerns that studios are more focused on inclusivity optics than storytelling. Zeglar's previous remarks about her desire to portray Snow White as a character who doesn't just fall in love with the first prince she meets led to some backlash from audiences who wanted the original fairy tale's traditional themes preserved.
Clear focus on Rachel Zeglar and Disney's Snow White reboot, showing just how divisive the company's creative choices have become. Rachel Zeglar as Snow White. Why fans are upset.
In the days following the episode's release, commentary on platforms like Twitter and YouTube exploded, with countless threads and videos analyzing South Park's stance on the Disney remake and its casting choices. Supporters of Zeglar have argued that South Park's satire went too far, possibly reinforcing existing biases against non-traditional casting choices. They feel the episode could discourage actors from taking on reimagined roles out of fear of being viewed as part of a pandering trend. For many, Zeglar's casting is about celebrating diversity in storytelling, yet critics contend that changes to iconic characters often alienate original fans and overlook storytelling depth in favor of identity representation. Moreover, this episode plays into broader conversations about cancel culture, with South Park subtly suggesting that the outrage over new casting can often be overblown and counterproductive. The pressure on Zeglar has intensified as audiences question whether the attention on her and similar casting choices distract from genuine conversations about narrative quality. The passionate defense of her casting, along with the episode's parody of Disney's approach, showcases how complicated the issue has become, with both fans and critics voicing strong opposing views. The impact of Into the Panderverse on Rachel Zeglar highlights the unique pressures faced by actors in an era of evolving storytelling expectations. Zeglar's journey with Snow White has been emblematic of the clash between artistic reinterpretation and audience expectations, further fueled by South Park's humor and critique. This episode, while focused on broader industry issues, inadvertently placed Zeglar in a spotlight that continues to spark debates about diversity, storytelling, and the evolving landscape of Hollywood. Could Disney also face a huge backlash after South Park ruthlessly mocks their fairy tale casting, showing the company as a symbol of Hollywood's greed and fake charm? This harsh take could ruin their family-friendly image, turning loyal fans against them and risking big partnerships. The fairy tale role of Disney. For a longer time of duration, the storyline of Disney was straightforward, clear, and simple. Love equals happiness. The classic princess storyline was all about finding your prince, getting married, and living happily ever after. It's a universal theme that hit home because, let's face it, love is in our DNA. Since the dawn of time, stories have celebrated love as a core part of life and survival. It's what kept these fairy tales alive in our hearts. The original Snow White didn't just sit around waiting to be rescued. She was strong and kind, and had a whole forest of animals and the 7 dwarfs by her side. That's leadership. But now, it seems Disney is focusing more on power and independence, which leaves many feeling a bit disconnected from the magic of love that made the classic tales special. Sure, we've seen the rise of strong female characters in films like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, But does that mean we have to lose the heart of these stories? And let's face it, some Disney classics are loved for a reason. They gave us iconic songs like Someday My Prince Will Come and Hi Ho, tunes that are etched in our memories. These melodies remind us of a time when love was at the core of the stories. Now, it feels like the focus has shifted more toward messages and less on that enchanting magic we've cherished for so long.
You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it, the disability, like we're a disability group. You just erased that whole image. So if you're gonna update the Queen, you can still make the movie. The argument should have been from Peter Dinklage, update the story. You don't have to talk about the 7 dwarfs as miners in a cave or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
But it doesn't end there. As Disney tried to modernize Snow White, they also brought back the 7 dwarfs, though in a twist, they're portrayed by average-sized actors. This change, along with Rachel's comments about taking the role for money, sparked quite a debate. Fans are left questioning what happened to the passion and dedication that should come with such iconic roles. Is Hollywood now more about checking boxes than creating heartfelt stories? While it's great to see new takes on these tales, some fans worry that in the rush to innovate, the timeless charm of Disney's classics is getting lost. It seems like the new stories are all about finding your inner greatness and outshining everyone else, rather than learning from mentors or valuing humility. The wise characters who used to guide the young heroes are often ignored or made fun of in today's stories. This shift isn't just lazy storytelling, it's a worrying trend. It seems like Hollywood is obsessed with power, and in doing so, it's losing sight of the love and values that made these tales connect with us. Is it any wonder the Snow White trailer faced backlash? The audience craves stories that remind us of connection, compassion, and the beauty of love. As we move forward, let's hope Disney can find a balance between modern values and the classic magic that makes their stories unforgettable. After all, love isn't just a plot device, it's the heart and soul of storytelling, and we need to keep that alive. Could Disney's biggest fairy tale remake actually be its biggest flop? What's really going on behind the scenes? And why are fans turning against it so fast? From bizarre casting choices to shockingly bad CGI, is the legendary studio losing its magic touch? Hold up, is Disney's Snow White remake heading for a total meltdown? After all the successful hits and groundbreaking stories Disney's given us, this one seems like a complete mess. And we're not just talking about Rachel Zeglar's drama anymore. Now the CGI is getting dragged all over social media. With a budget as big as this, you'd think the visuals would be mind-blowing. But nope. The CGI looks so rushed that fans are out here roasting it like a marshmallow at a campfire. Disney's top dogs are freaking out, scrambling to fix it. But let's be real, it feels like it's already too late. So here's where it all went wrong. Disney swapped the 7 iconic dwarfs for magical creatures, to be more politically correct. First, they denied it, but when the behind-the-scenes photos leaked, they had no choice but to own up. Then came the trailer, and it just made things worse. The new CGI dwarfs dancing around didn't sit well with fans, and the reaction? Brutal. People were furious over how the story strayed from the original, and they did not hold back online. Get this, the trailer has over 735,000 downvotes, compared to just 69,000 upvotes. That's a massive red flag. If these numbers are any sign, Disney's Snow White could be looking at a box office nightmare, and no magic mirror is going to save it. And let's talk money. Disney's decision to replace actual actors with CGI? Yeah, that backfired big time. The movie was supposed to cost around $200 million, but now it's ballooned to a jaw-dropping $330 million. Snow White is now one of the top 10 most expensive movies ever. To even break even, this thing has to rake in at least $600 million. Ouch. Sound familiar? It's giving major Lion King vibes, where fans feel like Disney's milking these classics to the point of no return. Excitement for this remake is basically dead in the water. Looks like Snow White's happily ever after might not be happening anytime soon. But there's more to it. In a shocking move, Peter Dinklage has blasted Disney's Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs remake, calling out its portrayal of dwarves as outdated and offensive.
And even the baffling decision not to cast dwarf actors for fear of offending Peter Dinklage. Snow White really was the perfect storm of everything so painfully predictable and ridiculous about modern entertainment, twisting and contorting itself into something barely recognizable.
The actor, famous for breaking barriers in Hollywood, questioned how Disney could claim progressiveness while perpetuating harmful stereotypes. You're still making that expletive, backward story about 7 dwarves living in a cave together. Dinklage's fiery remarks ignited a fierce debate online, with fans torn between preserving a beloved classic and embracing modern inclusivity. As the controversy swirls, Disney now faces a major decision: rethink the iconic tale, or risk a public backlash. What do you think about South Park's take on Rachel Zeglar and the ongoing Snow White controversy? Is it all just harmless fun, or does it cross a line? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.